Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Gulag Café. Tonight, we'll be talking about something that is probably on a lot of people's minds, probably has been for a while, but because of the Return to the Land hit piece on Sky News and me learning more about the Orwell man behind it, or Orwell, however you're supposed to say his last name, I wanted to use that as a framework just to talk about some things, some do's and don'ts, and some cautions and some encouragements about what I think about white-only spaces tonight. And Chris had a very long, funny, passionate stream with that RD fella on RD's channel last Friday night about the same topic. And they went into much longer, more hilarious detail than we'll be going into tonight. So I have that link ready to share with you before we get out of here tonight, which I will later. And to let you guys know, this is just sort of a free-form stream. I'll be setting the stage with a little interview clip with the Jonathan Greenblatt character of the ADL just to set the tone. And then we're going to look through a few segments of this hit piece that Sky News did as a framing device for me to talk about some things. And just to introduce you guys to Orwell and the Return to the Land initiative over in the Ozarks. So I will allow Brother Chris here to give you a brief comedic introduction. Please, Chris, go ahead.
Good evening, comrades, and be welcoming to another excellent episode of Gulag Cafe. I hope you're all sitting nicely on piece of charred furniture. Remember, Yuri will be bringing around bug burgers, and Jamal will also have race communist beating for all good boys and girls. Tonight, of course, we are discussing extremely terrible topic. Unlike in enlightened state of UK Soviet Socialist Republic, where white people gathering together for any reason is absolutely banned, unfortunately, our less enlightened brothers in United States of capitalist America are still to be allowing white people to gather together. This is, of course, very, very dangerous. What are all these white people doing out in rural areas? Probably sitting around, rubbing hands around, I believe they call it barbecue.
And as we all know,
on how to be white.
White people banding together, very bad for endless revolution.
Very suspicious. Very, very suspicious. Everybody knows in order to advance race communism, everyone must be mixed together all the time, the never-ending melting pot, which will, of course, eventually result in getting rid of all the white people. But we don't say that too loud. But, of course, everybody knows in the inner party that is the real objective. So please, sit down. If you are white, then I suggest that you kneel, perhaps pay homage to Jamal, give his boots a little bit of a lick, and just generally apologize for everything wrong in the world. And please to enjoy this excellent stream.
Yes, this stream is to be enjoyed. This is not doomer content, but just to sort of set the stage and show you guys what we're up against. I want you to keep in mind that this interview with Mr. Greenblatt from, I've already forgotten his name, Visegrad 24. He's a Polish guy. I think I lost Chris there. Chris, you all right?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, I had to close the door.
Okay, no problem.
I'm back. Sorry about that.
We are going to listen to a few minutes of Greenblatt talking to this Polish kind of sort of nationalist guy. He's pretty tepid and sensible from what little I can tell about him. But I want you guys to understand sort of what we're up against when we're talking about white-only spaces. And we'll start with this here. But before we get rolling, I want to remind you, as the paid chats come in, I have Cash App open on the phone now. I'll be checking PayPal, and Entropy is what I prefer for paid chats. That's the pinned comment in the chat. If you want to support me and Chris with your hard-earned dollars, Chris and I split the proceeds of this channel 50-50. And you'll be supporting us both when you send in your paid chats. And I'll get to those as I can through the stream, and we'll respond and maybe have a laugh at it. So let me go ahead and log into the old
What does
PayPal.
Nosferatu have to say for himself?
Yeah, I was going to make that joke. Thanks for showbizzing me. Yeah. Anyway, my opening line was going to be, so now let's hear from Nosferatu, but you showbizzed me and stole that from me. Thank you.
Sorry about that. I came up with that independently. See, great minds think alike, right?
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. All right. Well, now that that's blown, let's go ahead and get into this here. Here we go.
Telling us.
One of the very common accusations against the ADL is that it does focus on groups that claim to represent the interests of white people.
Uh-huh.
Do you think there's any truth to that you do perhaps focus more on white people more than anyone else? The reason I ask this question is I think Israel has done, and by extension the Jewish people have done several things right, and that is they have managed to preserve themselves as a group of people without a state. They've managed to successfully do that for a very long time. It's a wonderful saying that goes, for as long as the Jews have kept the Sabbath has kept the Jews.
Yeah.
They've managed to retain a respect for their traditions and values. Even the unreligious Jews have a broad respect for. They've managed to have, especially in Israel is the only Western country with an above a replacement level demographic rate. They've been very good at having strong borders. They've stuck together, right? And the fact of sticking together, the reason that they managed to survive without a state for so long is because
you can see Greenblatt's face. He already ain't
for
liking
example,
this.
there is a group of white Americans who wants to put the interests of white Americans first and says, okay, we are a group that is currently smaller and smaller as a percentage of the entire United States, and the demographics are shifting. Is that something that is problematic?
It's an interesting question. I mean, I think.
Look at that. Look at him rub his head.
The fact of the matter is,
that's a very interesting question.
Yeah, like most of you probably know what the answer is going to be, but let's hear him out. This is only a few minutes. Let's hear him out.
Having pride in who they are and what they believe in their values, to the extent that those beliefs and those values don't infringe upon me.
Yes. And this is where we come to the old problem with Nosferatu here, is because we all know the ADL's anti-white angle. Anything under the sun that gets in the way of anything that advances the Zionism or Jewish stuff that they want to defend, and we all know all that nasty stuff that people like Greenblatt and the bad anti-white kind of Jews are involved in. They use their money, their influence over media and politics to bury you with anti-Semitism. So he's cloaking this here by saying, as long as it doesn't infringe upon me. To him, infringing upon him is anyone that stands in the way of white erasure and anti-whiteism. And by other names, that can be, anti-Semitism, racism, all that other stuff that they use to beat us to death with. So keep that in mind for the rest of his answer here. Chris, do you want to say anything while I have it paused?
Just, I look, I got to say, one of the things that I admire about the Jewish community actually is their ethnocentrism, right? And
the one admirable thing.
Man, look, they look out for each other, they stick up for each other, right? They organize in their own group. I think we could learn a lot from them, to be perfectly
and I
frank.
think and it's evident that when whites start actually doing that, evil anti-white goblins like Greenblatt here try to crush us because they understand how powerful it is, because that's what they do.
So this would be my complaint, essentially, one of many. But why, right? Like if supposedly, right, like, we live in a classically liberal society. Oh yes, my God, it's 2006 again, and I'm like, just suddenly first discovering Reddit for the first time, right?
Right.
Why are these rights granted to some groups, but not others? Okay, right? Like,
because anti-whiteism. We know.
At heart, I'm really quite. I just want a society where everyone gets to organize in their own self-interest, right? It is the lack of fair rules that apply to everyone that really shits me up the wall.
Me too, and it's probably because we're Anglos, and that's a very Anglo sentiment. So.
Yeah, like I do not begrudge the Jewish community their ethnocentrism or their organization or they're looking out for their own. I don't either. Right?
Yeah, I don't either.
What rustles my jimmies, right, is that they are lauded for doing this, right? This is totally appropriate, and not just the Jewish community, but the Black community, the Sikh community, like every single other ethnicity and religious community gets to do that, right? Not just gets to do it, but is lauded and lionized for doing it. Like, oh, it's it's such an awesome thing, right? When whites do it, and I hope more people are seeing the rank hypocrisy in this,
Yeah.
because like the hypocrisy is now getting to the point where it's just beginning to collapse under its own weight, and I'm here for it.
Me too. So let's finish this up, then we'll move to the main event.
And don't encroach on my ability to lead a full, life based on, again, my values and beliefs. So I think typically the organizations who espouse a kind of white nationalism tend to have a view that's quite, let's just say, negative toward non-white people. I think there's lots of examples
Let
of
me
that.
bounce back on that.
Yeah,
I
this
don't
is good
think that
pushback.
Jews have a negative attitude towards non-Jews, even though they put their own interests first. You see that it's not necessarily exclusionary, right? You
Of
can
course
put the
not.
interests of the
Look,
group first and say, the reason I bring this up, I'm half Polish. I live in Poland.
Half what?
Half Polish.
Uh-huh.
Spend most of my life in Poland. I'm a proponent of strong borders for a variety of reasons. And one of those reasons is I don't necessarily want to see the demographic fabric of my country change. I would like the people who come to be people who respect my country, who want to speak the language of that country and want to partake in that broader society. I don't think that mass migration will necessarily help retain those things.
I don't know if that's a white policy.
No, that's
I don't know
just
what that.
It's
like-
not a white policy. It's just a policy of putting my country and my people first.
Look,
My
I
people
think-
happen to be 99% white, right?
Right, but so you could have that. I mean, Japan for centuries was a fairly homogenous ethnic country for a bunch of different reasons, cultural reasons,
Was Mr.
geographic
Greenblatt?
reasons, political reasons.
Yeah, I wonder what changed.
Yeah, I wonder if it was the, for lack of a better term, anti-white policies simply but applied to Japan, because we see this the same playbook being done to Japan is the same anti-white playbook being done to us that has been done to us for decades and decades. And I hope
this is why I agreed with you. I disputed with you originally, right? You said it's only anti-whiteism, and I said to you, look, these same tactics have been applied to the Japanese.
I know that. I've said that long ago before I even knew the Go Free method. The reason why I always say anti-white is to try to sell that word and get us to rally under it. I am keenly aware that these globo homo goblin people, they want everybody on the planet to be this stirred up mud soup mutt race that they can control through usury and vice. I understand that. But my point here is this type of application is why you have to be careful about organizing white spaces, white communities, etc. And you have to do it in an intelligent way and not. They're going to hate you no matter what. So it's good to not put a kick me sign on yourself. So that's all I really cared to hear about from Mr. Greenblatt here. I don't really want to hear any more of him. That was the only really useful part of this interview. Now, if you want to listen to the full interview, you can find the link. It's the top link in the description of where you're listening to this. Now we are going to move to the main event, which of course is this. Let's go back a bit. There's the beginning of it. Now, we already had a paid chat come in. Let me go ahead and embiggen this here.
Is establish a...
Oop. Let me bump that back a bit. All right. Let's get their stupid warning off. There we go. Of course, Sky News has to fearmonger at the beginning there by saying, oh, it's going to be racist and homophobic, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, we already had a paid chat come in from Dawn Browning. Thank you so much, Dawn. She sends us $10 US and 2 white hearts, one for each of us, Chris. And she says, splat the blat. Did you hear that, Chris? You're muted.
The blat.
Oh, there you are. Okay, I could hear you now. Okay, your audio cut out.
Bruh.
Splat the blat. All right. So, for those of you who might not know, the Return to the Land group is building a whites-only American traditional community, and it's a completely privately ran thing. Like I've talked about several times, you have to be smart about how you build it with the money and all the local ordinances and stuff. But they are a good group of people that, from all I could tell, are trying to do the right thing, and they have several dozen people involved. And I don't think that this is a bad guy. He seems like he's doing all right. And despite some ugly tea you can find about him online, we all have degeneracy, or most of us, I should say, have degeneracy in our pasts. I don't hold his long past against him or his filthy ex-wife against him. We all make mistakes. Me and Chris, of course, have been former degenerates. We're open about that. People can change their ways. And a big thing about our religion as Westerners is we believe in forgiveness and redemption, which obviously the anti-whites do not. So let's just have the intro here real quick. Chris, is there anything you want to preface this with before we get started?
Just that this is like, honestly, this is the most. I still don't understand why people like this engage like with the mainstream media at all, right? Like, you know, like journalists from Sky News phones you up and like, oh, can we do a story on your community? Unless, of course, they basically said, oh, look, we're going to do a story on you anyway. Which is probably the case, right? And they're like, well, you know, because it just never, you're never going to get treated fairly by these people. There is no.
Well, I think for a guy like this, he knows it will be free publicity for what he's building, and he knows that the people who will see this that are on his side won't be dissuaded by this ugliness. Because when you go to the comments on that Sky News video, it's like 2,000 or 3,000 comments of people all supporting what they're doing. So yeah, it is what it is. So
yeah,
but anyway,
it's like 4D media chess or some. I don't know.
Oh, I don't think it's 4D. It's just, you know, he would agree to it for free publicity, or I know I would. Anyway, let's listen. We'll do the intro here.
What we've done here is establish a place where we have control over who our neighbors are, and that is just for the sake of preserving, you know, our culture.
And that culture, effectively, we're saying this is a white culture, a whites only place.
White American culture.
Over the last year and a half, high up in the Ozark Hills in the state of Arkansas, dozens of people have been working hard, leveling the land, building houses. They call it an intentional community based around shared ancestry, a long-winded way of saying something really quite simple.
I think we would generally be called far right. Sure.
It's called Return to the Land.
And again,
they invited me in.
That clip is out of context, because the actual response is, yeah, I guess like many would call us far right just because we care about traditional values in our own people, but we don't lean that way, and we aren't that way. We're not even politically active. Like, that was the response there, but they clipped it just so they could have their little soundbite of saying, oh yeah, we're far right. Like, that's why you have to be careful about your language, because it can be really weaponized against you.
I mean, look, you know, like people in the chat are basically making the point, like, you know, it doesn't matter like what they said, right? They could have been out there like literally saving like children from floods, or, you know, right, like feeding the homeless, and they'd still be like, these racists are feeding the homeless and trying to gather sympathy for their neo-Nazi cause by being nice to people, as Nazis often are. Like, it's just impossible. It's like trying to deal with like some psycho girlfriend who's like, oh, you know, in my dream you said something nasty and you got to like apologize. Like, just, you can't win, right? Like,
yeah. So the intro's about done.
A lot of people are going to be, why are you making Nazi references?
Right. Well, why wouldn't I?
A seemingly bucolic and sometimes surreal experience. But this is built on a radical modern premise, made possible because of a new political and technological moment. One with strong.
No, we're gonna
ties,
skip
the
this
most
part
active
because this is another attack here.
I love how he says it's surreal. Like,
yeah,
just being
it's surreal that
like, you know, right? It's like, oh my god, I
have...
dropped acid and went into an alternate dimension where there's just like white people hanging around, like raising kids. Like, oh my god, like
doesn't he not realize that like millions of us live that way already? Like, that's kind of what rural America is still. And so
mate, you haven't had the joys of London.
Oh no, and I don't want, and I definitely don't want it. But no,
why wouldn't you want that? Yes, it's so delightful. Like, oh mate. Ugh.
So anyway, here he links them to the Proud Boys and says they have strong ties. Not Proud Boys, excuse me. Patriot Front. They have strong ties to Patriot Front. just because one time to promote his organization, the leader of this had an interview with Patriot Front and talked about what he was building. But that guy made the rounds doing interviews with lots of people, talking about his stuff to all kinds of different people. And it's just, the mind cancer is ridiculous. So we're now, before we get into it, we're going to skip to the end and listen to what the actual sit-down interview with Eric is like.
Comfy. Feels good.
Yeah. It's about time we spoke to Eric.
Less than 50% of children born today in the US are white. I'm white. My kids are white. There is something to your background that informs who you are, your sense of identity. And we don't want that sense of identity being taken away from us involuntarily. So we're taking control of that situation and creating an environment where my kids can celebrate their identity and not have it, threatened from outside, I guess.
But why is that threatening you? Why is that an issue that you've had to address? There will always be white people.
Wait, can I just pause that?
Yeah, because I want to say something too. Go ahead.
That is, there'll always be white people. Excuse me, right? Like, have you seen the fertility? Like, that is like, I mean, if you use the same argument in reverse and said, oh, well, there'll always be Jewish people, right? You've been around for like 2,000 years, right?
Yeah. Or,
they'd be like, oh,
say,
you can't make
saying
that assumption.
It's like saying Africa's full of blacks. Blacks shouldn't have any rights here. Like,
I actually bet I know what he really meant, right? He meant there'll always be, mixed raced people, right? Like, you guys won't die out, right? You'll still exist in the genes of your mulatto children, right? Like, unto the fifth generation. Like, oh my God, bro. Sorry, you go on, yes.
Yeah. No, it's this is the type of subversion that you'll have to deal with when you encounter people that will be against white-only heritage American communities. And so if anyone tells you, well, there'll always be white people, this is a great time to introduce them to the concept in the Go Free method of white erasure, the biological erasure of our people. You could say, well, there's no guarantee that there will always be white people. There's no guarantee of anything in the future. The future rewards people who plan for it and fight for what they want to see in the future for themselves and their progeny. And with all of the biological white erasure that has gone on for the last several decades, we have to ensure that our people have a future by building it. That's a great way to bring that up when anybody says something like, well, why are you worried about it? There's more white people now than ever, or something like that. Because I hear that a lot when I try to talk to people about this stuff. And they're not even being an aggressive, chiseling weasel like this anti-white piece of crap from Sky News. They're just, being normal folks. And that's a good time to bring up white erasure. So
we should bring back chiseler as an insult. That's a proper OG insult.
Yeah.
That one, right? Like the thing about this interview, and like I know because I watched it in autistic detail the other stream, is that you never hear this guy's response, right? It's entirely possible that Eric then turned around and said, well, like, actually that's a bit of an assumption, right? Like, no.
Right.
But they just cut it out.
Remember,
they only
this is heavily edited. This is
heavily edited.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling a little nervous now in
No,
the interview. We are forced to accept people into our neighborhoods, into our businesses, and into our lives who won't share our background, who won't share many of our cultural priors, even moral priors. We don't have a rule stating, if you have X amount of non-European ancestry, you're definitely out. In many cases, that would disqualify someone.
Were I to apply to the PMA and my views were different, I'd probably be allowed in. Do you think that's likely? I know it's a case-by-case basis, but just off the top of your head.
Yeah, possibly we would accept you in the PMA.
I don't understand white American culture, but you'd rather have me in that case. I just wondered, though, whether some people watching this, having heard all this intellectualizing, this rhetoric, would say, fine, but actually at heart, this is just, it is just prejudice. It is just bigotry. It is just lowest common denominator racism dressed up in these arguments.
Ding, ding, ding. He said the racism word.
Why is it wrong to identify with
Let's hear his response, then we'll talk about it.
Want an integrated culture where you can be yourself.
Just to boil it down to
what for you
his
response was cut off, so we'll just pause it here.
Yeah, of course it was cut off. right? Like
his response was
I bet you
probably
he
very
sat down.
reasonable and sounded good. That's why they cut it.
I bet
So-
you any money this was like a 2-hour interview.
Yeah.
Right. And they cut like 90% of it.
Yeah. So when anyone says to you, well, you want to live around whites, doesn't that sound a bit racist? Doesn't that sound a bit bigoted? You should immediately shut that down. You say, whoa, you wouldn't say that about any other group. It's anti-white of you to act like white people wanting to just have a good life with each other is somehow evil. That is the anti-white animus speaking through you. You have to crush it and shut it down succinctly and directly. And unfortunately, Mr. Orwell here didn't do that. And that's why I would like to get everybody in his outfit the Go Free method. I think that would be great. And if I ever go and do an interview with them, which I've been considering since last week, maybe I'll take them a box of Go Free books and see how it goes. But when people say this, and like not even just an evil chiseler like this anti-white scumbag here, if somebody says, well, you know, I like what you guys are doing. You seem really nice, but if it's whites only, that sounds a bit racist. You'd be like, no. First of all, racist is an anti-white slur. That word only exists to hurt white people, to hurt us. So I don't even engage with that term. And no, it's not any kind of any kind of ism, or any kind of harmful bigotry for me to want to live with my own people and live in a community of my folk, of my ethnic people. I'm a heritage American. I want to live around other heritage Americans. I want that to mean something. And to carry that forward, it has to be from white people, specifically the kind of white people that I think adapt and are part of my ethnic group, which, you know, could be Scandies, perhaps, if you live in Wisconsin or Minnesota or something. For me around here, it's like, you know, mostly Anglos, people, or Irish. That is the most compatible type. But still, other white people like Germans and French and Dutch and stuff, they can fit in just fine too, because we have so much shared background, so much shared history, and so much shared DNA. And so these are easy points that you can make to someone to crush the, oh, isn't that a bit racist? Or I don't know, that's a bit bigoted. Like, just attack it directly with calm confidence and let people know that that's anti-white thinking. And I've convinced a lot of people locally to just be like, oh yeah, I guess it is. I hadn't really thought about that. Because it's really easy when you approach someone calmly and directly with an emotional appeal. You don't have to beat them with facts and percentages and stuff. That doesn't really work. But, and of course, anti-whites like this scumbag won't work on him. They'll just use it against you anyway. But if you're in a public debate, maybe, if you're doing politics or you debate in college or something, it's a good approach there because you'll win over a lot of the audience doing that too. Chris, do you have anything to say on that?
To be fair, right, we don't know whether he tried to shut this guy down because we didn't
we don't know.
His response, right? So he could have quite easily said something like that, right? We'll never know, right? A few people in the chat are saying, like, if you're ever in this situation, you need to get raw footage. You have to have your own camera. You have to like take the footage yourself, right? So that then after they've released the hit piece, you can then release the full footage and show everyone how incredibly manipulative they are. That works a treat, right? You wait for them to bring out like the hit piece, and then you release the full video and show them up for like the manipulative chiselers that they are.
Yep. Again, that's a good word, chiseler. I like it. So I'm just checking now for paid chats to see if we have anything else come in while we're on a short break here. Nothing on Cash App, nothing on the other sites. All right, we're good to go. Let me refresh PayPal again because it's very slow. See if we have anything new there. Okay, nothing new there yet either. So let's listen to the last few minutes of this.
Racism. When I was a kid, I suppose I interpreted racism to be judging someone solely on the basis of their race. And is that a good or bad thing? I think this basic moral consensus treats it as automatically a bad thing without a lot of reflection.
Yeah. All right. We will stop there with this part because the rest of it is just anti-white bullshit from this chiseler.
It's just him going around struggle sessioning every single other person.
Yeah.
This like one of the things that I found like really notable is just the way this guy, and you know, presumably there's at least one other person who's running the camera and maybe someone else doing audio. They see absolutely no problem in just going around and just like struggle sessioning all of these people. Like they see absolutely nothing wrong with it. It doesn't occur to them that they're being rude, that they're being douchebags. They don't care.
So the other parts of this video that are kind of worth listening to. Let me see here. We're going to skip that because that's just lies and slander. You covered this on your stream with RD. That's where he lied about all this and found a stupid anti-white lady. Let's see here. We'll do Peter last here. Let's listen to, where is it? Yeah, here we go. Yeah, I want you to listen to these two talk here. And I want you to tell me what your take on these people is, your take on these people, Chris. And let me know just if you consider them dangerous, bigoted, or some kind of extremist.
Members. I'm intrigued to find out what motivates people to give up their old lives for this.
We met here.
Oh, you met here? Okay, so you came here.
I met her on like day 3. So.
Yeah. Oh my God, what a story. It beats Tinder, doesn't it? Like,
yeah, right?
Yeah.
David and Caitlin not only met here, they got married last month. They wouldn't be here without social media.
Somebody had posted a video of Eric.
yeah.
I saw videos of them actually building stuff on the land. I was like, oh man, I gotta come check this out.
And I figure if there's nothing else like this in the country, like it should at least exist.
Yeah.
Like, do people really think that we should never be able to choose our neighbors?
It wouldn't be controversial for any other racial group to do the same thing.
I think it'd be quite controversial.
Well, if you don't have rules against it, then, anyone of any race can come and be your neighbor. And they're watching the news, which is telling you that white people are, the cause of all your problems and all the ills of society. And suddenly, your children are much less safe because there's a lot of violence, anti-white violence happening to white people and white children. And so
Specifically.
Now, see, I wanted to highlight this because clearly these two people are fairly normal white people, right? And they are not, giving Sieg Heils. They're not waving swastika flags. They're not talking about burning crosses in yards. No, these people care about themselves, their culture, and what children and life that they can build. And this man even said the word anti-white. He didn't say, oh, I hate them blanks, or, I have a problem with Israel. Like, he's not coming from a position of hatred. He's coming from a position of love and self-preservation for his folk. And the way that he phrased that there is a very normal white American sentiment, and probably normal white sentiment in whatever white country you happen to live in if you're listening to this. And this is what I think the vast majority of all of us should talk like. Even if you happen to like old Uncle H in The Painter, even if you happen to like old Mustache Man from Italy and his shiny boots and all that, I don't think that we live in that time. And the more that you perpetuate the shadow of World War II propaganda, the harder it will be for us to grow and reach other white people because of the oppressive anti-white narrative. And I'll get into more of that here in a little while, but I wanted to highlight these two because I think this is how we should present ourselves and how we should talk about the why and the what of the matter. What do you think, Chris?
Help! I'm being stung to death by wasps. Not all wasps. What are you, some kind of anti-waspist? Like, it just like, I mean, look, you can, the amount of time that they spend basically just finding these normies, right, and struggle sessioning them compared to like the amount of time they actually spend talking to people who've got any kind of idea of what they're talking about and know how to deal with shitty journalists is, I mean, it's just, I'll be like, what anti-white violence? What are you even talking about, bro? Oh yes, the interviewer believes it'll be controversial if any other racial group did that. Oh please, this is what the guy's just lying out his ass. Seriously, if it was me, I'd just be like, get off my land, right? Like, get out. Like,
one of the things. Hold on a second. Where's that interview? I'm trying to find the guy who said, I just moved here for financial reasons and I like these people. I'm trying to find that guy. Where is that guy?
He's like in his house.
He's in here some.
to
I think
start
this
off.
is him. Somewhere. Yeah. Is this him?
Is that the guy he like struggle sessions about the Holocaust for like?
No,
probably
we're
half
not
an
doing
hour?
that guy because that guy's he's a troll and he's just trolling that guy, and I don't think that's very nice. No, where is that guy? I know he was in here. Where is he? Thought for sure he was in this section, but I don't see him. Is this it? No. Well, I can't believe, because I just listened to it earlier today. I know it's in here. Oh my goodness, why can't I find this? I feel like an idiot.
Well, moving on.
Yeah, I guess so. But anyway,
yeah.
Man, I swear it was in here. Oh, maybe it's in this part. Oh no, oh, it's in the Eric interview part. It's just not properly chaptered. Oh, that's ridiculous. All right. Anyway, here it is. Here's another guy that speaks to the being able to appeal to people on just like a normal human level. When you build yourself like Eric's group here and you invite people like this nice man and woman that we just listened to, you also attract other people like this guy.
Not a leader like Eric or Pete or Scott, but an acolyte, a young one and newly arrived. He's only been here a month.
So I'm trying to knock off some of this more good topsoil, give it some more.
We'd seen him when we first came up. He guided us in on his bicycle.
It's just you have a community where you feel like you belong here. You have people you can talk to, and I can't explain it. It's too beautiful. It's nice.
He'd been working on Scott's new house over the weekend. In return for his labor, he gets cheap rent. John dropped out of college, and he's worked jobs all over the United States. He's 26, younger than the leaders who are all in their 30s. If they are the recruiters, he is the perfect recruit. And for John, the primary motivation was financial.
To me, it's economical. It's an economic decision, right? And everything else just kind of falls in line. Yeah. But the main thing to me is cheap land. Everything else is a bonus.
You've got 2 levels here.
Yep, got a loft up top, and this.
All right, that's enough of that for now. The reason why I wanted to highlight this guy is in the Go Free method, we use the word pristine. It means living a good life, being clean, not using ugly slurs, not presenting yourself as a villain or a monster or a hater, and building positive good things and being an example. And when you do that, you attract other people. Like this guy here, he's clearly not a lot to look at. He ain't beating the ladies off of him with a stick. He dropped out of college. He's worked a bunch of different jobs in different states. Just a normal bell curve working class guy. Probably has a lot of good skills he's picked up along the way. Chris, you even made that comment with RD when you guys did your stream last week. When you build something that's positive and it has a nice finish, people notice it. That's why people like to have good looking houses and good looking yards, good looking gardens. And so when you have a good looking house and a good looking garden, you attract quality things like nice bees to your flowers or nice flies to your manure if you're into cattle. So if you organize and build around negativity and putting forward an ugly front, you attract ugly people. And so that's why I like the Go Free approach and what the Old Glory Club's doing with their clean-cut, nice men who talk like educated gentlemen who care about America. And I like the white positive aspect of the pro-white cluster that the white well-being people do. It's a very positive thing that attracts good people. And you need people. Like not everyone is going to be a hardcore pro-white, I know all the stuff, I've been down all the rabbit holes, I'm all the way through the pipeline. Like most people aren't that, and they can't be that. But we need regular people like this fella here being our plumbers, painting our houses, working on our farms, being part of our communities. And you attract regular good folk like him by putting on that good pristine veneer. What do you think, Chris? Do you agree with that?
I mean, yes, but I think that there is also a danger that you're trying to sort of please people that are never going to accept you. Do you know what I mean? Right? Like,
no, I don't. Explain.
You know, you know, like nice houses don't just attract bees, you know, they also attract people who want to like steal shit from you. I don't know. I've just,
Okay.
I guess, become extremely black-pilled about the idea that there is any sort of combination of words that can, you know, convince, you know, these kind of people like this interviewer, you know, that it's a good idea. Of course, you're talking about like,
No, I'm
you know,
not talking about
to the
him. I'm
normies.
talking about the regular working Joe here who says, I'm here for financial reasons. Everything else is a bonus. All that other stuff being a bonus, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about.
I mean, I guess, right? I mean, but you're surely like the assumption is that a lot of these people aren't already living in hell world, right? In which case, like, you know, I think I was saying this the other day that it's not really words that drive difference in opinion. It's events, and I think just the experience of living in a lot of these like highly diverse places is just driving people away. But you know, look, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I think you're probably right. It's better to appear as, you know, clean cut and normal.
No,
These
no,
people
not
are
not
clean cut,
appear,
you know,
actually be.
actually
I'm
be.
not talking
Yeah.
about fake appearances. I'm talking about being genuine. Like this is a good segue point for me to talk about some do's and don'ts and stuff here. Let me we'll go ahead and kill this and we'll go to a regular view here. Do you want to bring back up the thing and go to your small corner view there? Or there we go. Okay, there we go. So talking about a veneer, talking about being pristine, there are some kinds of organization and isolation that I think are either useless or negative. The useless one, I think, that I've talked about a lot, are your bunker nuts, are your hardcore libertarian isolationists. We have a lot of that around here. There's even a guy like that in my family. I'm going to build a big bunker. I'm going to have a ton of guns. I got all this food. I've got water purifiers and all that. I think that's stupid. I think that when you wall yourself off to that degree and prep to that degree, and you think that you will live through the zombie apocalypse because of your bunker and your guns, you're spending your life's resources and time building your own expensive tomb. You're just decorating your own mausoleum to die in. That's not building a community. That's not helping your ethnicity, your community, your tribe, your race. That's just you kind of being a selfish isolationist. So I think most sensible people think that that's not going to help anything for white people's future. Then we have another kind. There's somebody that I knew in the long ago that went to join a very militant militia compound in a place I won't mention in the Pacific Northwest. That didn't end well for that person. Most of them got arrested, and some of them ended up being drug dealers connected to a biker gang. Those people were very militant and hostile, and their identity was heavily built around the straw man of National Socialism from the 30s and hating blacks and Jews. That organization fell apart after a few years, and a lot of them ended up going to jail for drug charges. And thankfully, my friend did not get clipped for drug charges, but he wasted several years of his life and all of his money moving out there to start a life there. I don't think that kind of organization is healthy either. It lives inside the anti-white narrative, and it perpetuates the propaganda of the World War II shadow I want us all to move away from. So I don't think that's a healthy kind of organization either. Then we have the more modern type of libertarian isolationist type stuff I don't like. You have several libertarian types who have some level of racial consciousness. So these are like your Hoppian types and some of your Mises guys, your ANCAPs. They want to create an entirely isolated system and be like, oh, we're going to have 1,000 little Liechtensteins. We're going to make all of our own food. We're not going to have to rely on any government or electricity or any of that. We're going to do it all ourselves. That ain't that terrible of an idea. But the problem is when you are that isolated, you're not actually in communication with the outside life, and you don't have that necessary ebb and flow with the culture that you came from. And I think that's very important too, because we can't forget where we came from, this anti-white hellscape we were born into. But I think the sweet spot is building like these guys. And we have many examples of this. There are two groups I know of doing exactly this in Tennessee. And in the Old Glory Club, I met two other gentlemen. One bought 1,000 acres of land himself. And it was either in Minnesota or Wisconsin, up in the Great Lakes area. And he already has several families coming to live on his land. His little group doesn't even necessarily have any type of pro-white or white only in their write-up. It's just heritage American preservation. And of course, only white Christians are allowed. And That's his organization, but it's very white, of course, very Scandi, very white up there. And there's another group who doesn't want to be mentioned because they're just getting off the ground, so I won't, but he gave a speech at one of the Old Glory Club conferences. These things are happening all across America. And in part of the interview I didn't play from Eric there, he said, I hope to see more people building these and us network together and trade together so we can build something real together. That is the important ingredient. You don't want to be isolationist. You want to be protectionist. You want to have a nice community that you protect and you safeguard, but you still want to know the neighboring towns. You want to have good relations with the sheriff, with the other townships, the county mayoral office. You want to know people. You want to hobnob. You want to know what's going on at the local churches, at the local baseball field, that kind of thing. Because that level of connection, I believe, is very necessary for maintaining a healthy ethnic identity and communal connections for trade, industry, stuff like that that we all need. And if you are connected to not necessarily these protectorate groups like Eric's building, but with small towns in America and rural America, that's a wonderful way for your area and what you're building to grow. Because if you're regularly dealing with the local butcher, with local farmers, local tradesmen, electricians to help you build what you're building, your name is out there. And people in the local communities around you, they know that you're good people. They know you have good things going on. They know you smile and you're positive and you're fit and you eat well and you speak well and you have money to spend, money that is hard earned from your labor. That goes a long way with rural working class whites in America. So being not isolationist, but protectionist in these groups that you build, these white-only spaces, I think that's the key in the sweet spot. I wanted to hear what you had to say about that, Chris. What do you think? Do you think that's the right pitch there?
I think it is the right pitch. I mean, again, right? You can call me sort of black-pilled on this, but these groups like the ADL have already gone to the Arkansas state government, right? And they're like, we've got to shut it down. We've got to shut it down. And if they can't shut it down legally, I imagine the next thing that they'll do is they'll try and buy up all the land around them, right? And fill it with, basketball Americans, like just anything. I guess we will see, right? You are right that this stuff is starting to like pop up everywhere. I've actually got an article about the Woodlander initiative that came out in the Daily Mail around the same time.
Mm-hmm. And
neo-Nazi group. Wait,
let me pop that up for us. I'll go ahead and bring that up.
I got it on the.
Oh, you got it already. Okay.
Small cam. Yeah. So just in small.
Now, disclosure here. I have known the Woodlander for like 6 or 7 years. I know him. I've met several of the people that are part of his organization. They are not at all what this thing paints them as. All they care about is preserving their British, English ethnicity, or Welsh in most of their cases, their Welsh ethnicity, and protecting the land and wanting to build a group of people that buy into owning as much land as they can to do the protectorate thing I'm talking about. These are not haters. These aren't your neo-Nazi bad guys the media bangs on about. They are just like Eric. They're just like me and you. And this is how they treat people that try to do the right thing.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Neo-Nazi group is quietly buying up land across the UK in a bid to create white-only enclaves. I bet you any money, right? They've already got, state glowies all over this. I'm actually surprised that this is not already explicitly illegal. It is illegal basically in the UK to start up any kind of charity or group with the express purpose of helping whites. Obviously if you're any other kind of ethnicity or religion, that's like totally fine. I wish these guys well, right? This is something that is popping up everywhere, and the people who
and these guys, and not to cast aspersions at Patriotic Alternative. There's a lot of nice, good people in there, and they do good stuff, just like Patriot Front does a lot of good stuff. But the Woodlander initiative, it doesn't do banners that says immigrants go home. They don't go leaflet to tell people about, anti-whiteism and stuff. They are just building land and groups and places for people to live in groups of their own kind. They're not doing any kind of political activism. They're not even political. And this acts like they're out there, intimidating non-white people and doing radical political stuff. But it's all lies. They don't do that.
Yeah, but look at the way the Daily Mail treats them. It's exactly the same toolkit, right? Guilt by association, guilt by association. These people have done nothing, right? They've bought some land in the middle of Wales, and they want to live around people like them, right? And it's just I don't know, man. It's just really, it really gets my goat, because at the same time they're making life impossible for whites, generally speaking. They are at the same time, of course, actively trying to stop anyone from escaping the diversity hellscape, right? Because in my opinion, they are terrified that people will start building these successful communities and other people will be like, wow, that's really nice. They're living like a functional life. There's no crime and like things are working really well. And then the next thing people will start thinking is, well, why can't we live like this, right? Like they're just trying to shut down the example so that no one gets any bright ideas. But I think it's gone past the point of putting the genie back in the bottle. And this is why I think, honestly, it's going to wind up with state-backed force, because I just don't, particularly in the UK, I do not think that the state can abide by anything like this. Like, it's just so fundamentally against the state's priorities, right? But, like, again, maybe I'm just, being blackpilled. Maybe it'll all be like great. I don't know, right? I mean, if you've seen the state of the UK police recently.
I have. And there's let's go back to Embiggen View here for the wrap up. There's a good comment in chat from Alex, a guy I've known for a lot of years now, that brings me to my last talking point about types of people and the fighting spirit. Alex says, you best take an interest in politics, as politics may take an interest in you. That is correct. But here's the thing. In the slanderous interview that the big-nosed chiseler did with Eric, it was either with Eric or with someone else in the interviews that he did. But of course, Adolf Hitler was brought up, and he was like, so how do you feel about Hitler or whatever? And I'm pretty sure it was Eric who said, I feel like he's a historical figure. And the interviewer brought up, well, in the past, you said something about people needing to be ready when there's another Hitler. And Eric explained that by saying, I'm not talking about someone who will, he didn't use these words, but act in the anti-white narrative of wanting to gas Jews and kill gays and stuff like that. What he meant was, as a charismatic leader who genuinely speaks and cares for his ethnicity, is ready to be that president, that leader, that king, that conqueror, there needs to be people for him to lead. And that leads me to my last point about this. You're correct, Alex. Politics does care about us. International evil people with a lot of power and influence care about being bad to us. But here's the thing. Most of us, myself included, Chris included, we are not elites. We are not presidents and kings. We are regular people, most of us. And most of our kinfolk don't want to be involved in politics. They don't want to fight wars. They don't want to go bash it up with Antifa in the street. They want to live good, healthy, safe lives. And you can call them pussies all you want. You can be an asshole like Fuentes and call them cucks and things. But that's just the truth of the matter. And the more of these positive, healthy white communities that we have all across America, the more opportunities we have for good people who we need to breed, to work the land, work on infrastructure, manage our bank accounts. We need regular, good white people to procreate and carry on our lineage, our genetics, and to actually staff the countries that we want to actually have one day. So we all can't be radicals. We all can't be political-minded advocates. That's just not for most people. But I think what Eric's building, what the Woodlander Initiative is building, and what a lot of the people in the Old Glory Club are building, and the people in Tennessee I know that they're building, that does appeal to your regular person. And a regular person can make a financial choice that benefits him and his wife and his kids, or future kids if he doesn't have them yet. And he can be a part of this thing of ours without having to be a political hard nose or getting invested and listening to 100 hours of YouTube a week and shit like that. Most people aren't cut out for that. And we need to build a way for those people to be involved and be part of what we want to see in the future. So that's the last thing that I wanted to share. What was just that right there. So that's it. That's what I wanted to share and what I wanted to.
I hope you're right, and I hope I'm just being blackmailed. Like I would love to be. I would love to be wrong about this, honestly, because it would be.
I agree with Alex there too. I agree. Like they're different strokes for different folks, and not everyone is born with the same genetics or the same spirit. Like vanguardism is very important, and I'm not telling you or others not to do it. I'm saying we need to encourage these groups to be as normal and healthy as possible, and also be, smart with their gatekeeping to bring in as many good-minded, good-hearted, regular white folks as possible. And we're not all vanguards. We're not all dissident intellectual geniuses that write essays and stuff. It's just, you have to acknowledge the baseline bell curve of our race and where we're at right now. That's what I'm saying with this community building stuff. It's very important for our future. And that's it.
No,
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Chris.
No, it's fine. It's a beautiful idea, right? Like, and it could be an excellent way to peacefully take some of the tension out of these multiracial societies, right? Like, just let the whites get away, and right, and then maybe after they feel a bit more secure, come back and engage, right? Like the sort of upshot of trapping everyone in this sort of constant jar full of ants being shaken is that it's just making everyone more extreme. But I kind of feel like that's the point, you know what I mean, right? Like, this is being deliberately pushed so that the pot will boil over, and then we can make whoever it is can make a fresh pot of whatever horror they're brewing up. I wish all of these projects the best, and I guess we'll see. I don't know, give it a couple of years and see what happens. But again, my suspicion is that they're going to let loose the glowies, right? And before you know it, all these communities will be lousy with government operatives, and but again, that's probably just me being pessimistic, right? And if you take that,
I think it is, because
why do anything?
I personally know people in the Old Glory Club who have already started and built an interstate trade list of tradesmen who work with metalwork, electricians, lawyers, and through the few dozen Old Glory Club chapters that there are now, when anyone needs that kind of work done in an area, all they have to do is contact the Old Glory Club member in their area and say, hey, I need work of X type in X area. Do we have a guy for that? And we already have dozens of young men invested in that, and some older guys too, who work in law, who work in business. We have some guys who are already millionaires in that network, who are used to dealing with real estate and stuff. So this kind of thing has to start and has to grow. That's why I'm here for it, and that's why I encourage it. Because
I think I'm just demoralized from being back in London for too long. Whenever I go to America, right, I just become like, oh, this is so beautiful. This could all work, and then you come back to London, and I'm just like,
yeah.
So
well, we don't have any paid chats. We only had that one from Dawn Browning, I'm sad to say. But I had a great time with this tonight, and I hope that you all were inspired and learned something about what to say and what not to say, maybe who to invest in or where to move to, that kind of thing. Just make wise decisions and invest in good people doing good things. And if you want to be a vanguard, if you want to be a political agitator, we do need those. So if that's you and you have the spirit and the time and the life and you're cut out for that, I'm not telling you not to do it. But we also have to acknowledge most of our people will never be that, and they won't be all the way down the pipeline like many of us. They just need to live healthy, comfortable lives as best as they can in a safe community. And these community groups, these building projects, hopefully we will see many, many more of them start up in the next year or two, and they'll grow and build together. And networking together and not being isolationist is an important part of that recipe, in my opinion. And of course, this is all my opinion. So we'll leave it there. That was my presentation for tonight. I know this is not technically an Empire of Lies, but I decided just to make it a Gulag Cafe, since it was just going to be mostly commenting on videos and sharing my thoughts. So Chris, I've talked plenty this stream. Is there any closing thoughts you want to add to this?
No, I wish all of these communities the best, and like I really hope it goes well, and it would just be nice to see some like white communities just being like heckin' wholesome, and just raising kids, and like honestly, right, that whole interview was just very, very wholesome, that video, despite the journalists trying to like make it all sinister. Like it was just really wholesome, just a bunch of people just trying to like build a place together, and I think that's really beautiful.
Yep. Well, I see we have lots of usuals in the chat. I think we peaked at around 70 on YouTube and around 20 on Rumble. So it was good to see, all the usuals in the chat. Good to see you guys here. And I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Are you streaming with RD tomorrow?
I am streaming with RD tomorrow. I'm not 100% sure. I think we're covering Sololinsky, but I'm not 100% sure. That starts at, I believe it's 6 p.m. Eastern time, 11 p.m. London time. Come along for another episode of RD and Fist. It should be a fun time. I hope to see you.
Yeah, I am sharing Rhetorically Defective's YouTube channel link in the chat. He is a funny, loud guy, and I won't reveal where he's from, but he can if he wants to. He came on Discord at Dragons and had a good time with us. He had a wonderfully entertaining stream with Chris last Friday night. They talked about the same topic for like 2 hours. It was like 2.5 hours. I've listened to the whole thing. It was a lot of fun. RD might be a good streamer for you to listen to, and definitely check out him and Chris's stream tomorrow night, right?
Oh yeah. Also, I did an interview discussion with Aiden Paladin.
Oh, that's right.
On cultivation theory, which is about like whether the media you watch and the games you play affect how you act. That was a lot of fun. That's over on my second channel, Distributed Warfare. Go and check that out. If you got nothing to do now, it's about an hour. You might enjoy that. Aiden, of course, is the social science darling of YouTube. So she knows tons of stuff about that. So yeah, check that out.
And it sounds like Robert Smith is also a Tennessean. Robert Smith in the chat saying a bunch of based things I saw earlier. He says native Tennessean, by the way. Well, howdy, friend. I live near the Tri-Cities out in the eastern tip of Tennessee. Really good, pristine place out here. My kinfolk are the ones that started the farms in the hollers here like 150 years ago. So I am 100% heritage American on each side of my family tree as far back as I can trace to the 1800s. So I'm a born and bred hillbilly here in East Tennessee. Oh, you were saying Cordell was a native Tennessean. Oh, okay. Sorry about that, Robert. I got that mixed up. But anyway, thank you for sharing in the chat. Thank you guys for all being here. And we'll have some more content for you next week. Have a blessed weekend. Just love your family, love your kinfolk, love your race, and be a good person to the people around you. Be healthy and kind and responsible as you can, and it will attract good people to you. So have a great weekend, everybody. God bless.
Good night, everyone.